Welcome to the Healthy Metal Hippie podcast, where art and wellness collide. I'm your host, Ashley, and I am so excited to connect with you today. Now let's jump into today's episode, ready to rock and with an open heart. Well, hi and welcome to the Healthy Metal Hippie. Today we are here with Dean Fairhurst from the band Standin, formerly known as Slidigs. Dean, we are so happy to have you here today, so thanks for being with us.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
So, let's get right into it. You have a lot of exciting things coming up for 2024, but before we get into those, why don't we go back a bit? Why don't you tell us a bit about Slidigs and the fun that you had with them? We know that you went for an extensive North American tour with The Who, which is, something that most people would only dream of. So tell us about Slidigs. Tell us what that was like.
Yeah, it spanned over a good few years. It was created over a bond and friendship when I was younger. We were all sort of mates. We had a few changeover of members in the early days, but predominantly it was created by myself and my best friend Louis Mengai, and very similar to a lot of bands in the northwest of England. We started writing songs before we could really play, and then we were just wanted to get out there and perform for whatever that reason is, from an artistic point of view. And we started creating a bit of traction quite early on. We were naive, as most people are at that age, and we play anywhere and everywhere, and we played from dive bars to around the UK, and we started off because we wanted to raise money for equipment. We would travel to Ireland and we'd do stints of tours over in Ireland, playing a bit of covers, bit of our own stuff, and introducing our own music and seeing what the reaction was, and just constantly writing. It was a moment where we were excited, we were young and wanting to enjoy ourselves, and all built around our obsession and love for music. The Ireland dates were, because I went there quite recently, and some of the memories were sort of shooting back with regards to how we did it. And we used to travel around in a van, and we'd have like a big long sprinter van, and in the middle of the back of the van we'd have like a bed and put all the gear at the bottom, and we'd travel around and we'd meet different people, and we play all these shows for like 3 hours and drink and enjoy ourselves, and we could we did that non-stop, and people would invite us to their homes and want to look after us, and they were just very good moments, and from there we built a tightness as musicians, tightness as artists and songwriters, and eventually we got to a stage where we were invited to play certain shows, and the shows were getting better. We did a lot of the festival dates. Booking agents got involved. We had label involved and released our record. We released our first record, which I thought was just demos at the time. But anyway, the label wanted to release it.
I think I have that.
And yeah, you know what? Some really good songs on that, but they are demos. Every time I listen to it, I go, that's an unfinished song. But people love it. People love it.
It is really good.
Yeah, there's some really good stuff on there. Some questionable lyrics. But yeah, no, things got bigger and better and wilder, and we liked to entertain ourselves, and we were free, and it was good. I don't look back on those days as anything but magical, Yeah. I just laughing most of the time, which is of course without that element of humour and enjoyment, we wouldn't. What's life about, I suppose? But so then, yeah, things got bigger, and we got invited down to do a few shows for the guys that look after The Who, which were not without the strange things that do happen in the music industry. Like one show we went down, the first show that we did for some of the management, like all the electricity went off in the show. I think the sprinkler was on at one point in a gig down in London. And eventually we did the gig, we smashed the gig, and we invited us to do another show for them, like a showcase, and more people came to see us. And on that event, that was like, I think that was in a festival somewhere down south, but we were trying to get there. We were stuck we had like 5 different traffic jams and loads of carrying on. It was just funny, really. But we eventually did it and made it and did the shows, and the shows were successful enough for us to be invited to support The Who so we played, like, originally we played some of the UK shows. So I remember playing Cardiff, Liverpool Echo Arena, it was called then. I don't know if is it still called that? But we played that, and then we played the MEN in Manchester, what used to be the MEN. I think it's AO or something like that. And then the O2, we had a few nights at the O2. And then at the time, we recorded in Rockfield Studio and playing on the same piano. Queen had wrote, Freddie Mercury had wrote Bohemian Rhapsody and all those things. And so it was a great time, and things were moving very fast, and I think they were moving faster than we understood it, really. We were just going with the flow. And eventually we got invited to go and play in America, which at the time was December, must have been December 15, I think. And, we got invited for the full tour of North America. But when they told us we'd got it, it was only a few weeks after. They were like, "Oh, so do you guys have any criminal records?" And I was like, "Well, silly question. 4 boys from the north of England. Someone's going to have a criminal record." And of course, to cut a long story short, there was a few issues that two of the lads, actual members of the band, couldn't actually go on the American tour, so we missed the first part of the tour due to this issue. And then therefore we had to teach 2 other members. One was the brother of the bass player, Ryan, who's in the K's now. He plays in a band called the K's now, doing very well. He's the guitarist in the K's.
Cool.
And he was supposed to be playing bass, I believe, his brother's part. So his brother had to teach him his part. So of course, for Ben, the bass player, he was like devastated that he has to teach all the parts to his younger brother, who is now, I think he was about 21 anyway, Ryan at the time, to come over and play in America while he had to stay there. And then Louis had to teach Joe Cavey,
right,
the parts. Who Joe now is the guitarist in Standin Man. So as is the music industry and people that play, it's all very incestuous and but funny enough, Joe is the guitarist of Standin Man. So they taught them their parts, and then 2 weeks sorry, I missed a major point here, because Louis and Ben got their passports rejected for the visas to perform over in America. So about 2 weeks before we were so we had to teach these new members all the parts of the songs and rehearse, and it would be their first time in sort of stadiums, never played stadiums before, or that level of show. We'd had the experience, me and Peter had the experience of obviously playing in the UK and the O2 and stuff like that. So then 2 weeks before we were supposed to go away to America, Louis and Ben got their passports accepted and sent to them. So it all turned out in the end. But obviously for Joe, he unfortunately for him, he dealt with it in an amazing way, by the way. He was very gentlemanlike and was very happy for Louis, and he was a really, really nice guy about it. And then Ryan, we took Ryan he played keys. He played keys for us on the show. Cool. So then that American tour was just an experience. It was trying to explain it to someone, to say how great it was and how everything went right. It sounds sort of fake, but it truly was. In every show, it was like we had a standing ovation at the 19 of the shows all across North America. Yeah. And people loved us. We'd sell merchandise after our show and at the end of the Who show, and people went crazy for us. It was like some of the Beatlesy moments in and around selling the merchandise. People running after you, pulling your hair. It was like that, which was crazy. But we did the shows, and we bit as much as we could out of it, and enjoyed them. And I think it was always a shame that we didn't really get back to the States, because people were chatting and constantly contacting us and wanting us to get over there and play again, and sadly we didn't really get a chance to play over there. So then we came back, and it's where we sort of missed the trick, I believe, because we were young and still learning the industry, the people that were in and around the industry at the time.
Yeah,
I believe we didn't really get guided in the way that we should have been with regards to having tours set up down in the UK. Sorry, there's some builders going on here.
No, don't worry. That's the thing. Life happens. When we talk, my dog's usually there, so
I just out of all the days that we could start doing this now. So we did all that, and then in the UK we got a really good booking agent, Steve Strange, who worked at X-Ray, who sadly is not with us anymore, and he really seen us for what we were, understood us as a band, and we weren't indie, but we weren't full classic rock. We were somewhere in between, and it was maybe people find that difficult to pigeonhole us, and I thought that was a good thing, and he thought that was a good thing. So after that, we carried on doing supporting some of the big artists, Liam Gallagher in Milan and the Killers and stuff, and playing some big festivals like Ed in the main stage at Isle of Wight, and a band called the Scorpions as well. We did a few dates there around Europe,
which is amazing.
They were all
love
great.
The Scorpions.
Yeah, no. Even going back to the Who, we played with them in Europe then, with the Who in like Germany, Italy, Vienna, things like that. But we got really close to the whole crew, because the whole crew were just as legends as the band themselves. They travelled with them for so long. So when they seen us that are rapscallion kids wanting to enjoy themselves and hedonistic in some ways, that they sort of enjoyed that to some degree, until we pissed them off, and then they were like, get back in your dressing room.
Oh no,
because they all speak like that. But yeah, no, it's such a magical time, really, and it'll stay with me for a long time. But it was the time where I was like, this is a different level. It's a different level from playing pub gigs and doing the circuit around the UK. It's a level that you've seen it now and experienced it. So then, from an aspirational point of view,
you need it.
You need it. You know what I mean? It's like, this is what we're aiming for anyway. Being that kid in the bedroom writing songs, me and my friend recording on a tape recorder and going, this is what it's all about. Being able to tour at that level, being able to experience and travel the world. I always, and I still to this day, I always want to be in and around different cultures and experience them, but also play music. Those two things in tandem are what I desire the most, I think, from whatever this thing is that's within me to create and fucking write songs. That having them, I think that's the pinnacle of it all, and recording.
I think you're completely right, and it sounds, it is like the ideal life that you would create coming out of that, right? Traveling, experiencing, and creating things that unify people. It's amazing. And I think that you will be back on that trajectory. I know I saw you as Sly Diggs in that 2016 in Calgary, and my sister and we had front row tickets, and I remember I looked at my sister, I was like, holy shit, they're really good, and I think we talked about it once before, but like in North America, people will often skip the opening act if they don't know who it is, but we were like,
of course,
we have to be there, and a lot of people actually, I think at that one were there, but no, totally blown away, and I think it's just so interesting how it's kind of come full circle, and here we are, like 8 years later, just having a little chat about about this amazing time.
That is crazy. And it makes the world sort of more connected, I suppose. It's funny in the music industry because you do find yourselves meeting other people, and like the story of like band members moving around, and then now Joe's in a band with me, and even from the audience point of view of people that I've met, because you meet an inordinate amount of people doing something like that and traveling, and there's an exciting part, isn't there? Yeah, so I think in those moments of meeting people, and it always comes back round, and I think serendipity or those elements of people coming back into your life for a reason, I suppose.
Yeah, I think so too. I always think that like music is one of the greatest unifying forces in the whole world, right?
Yeah.
Because no matter what you look like, where you're from, what you do for a living, how much money you have, if you both bond over a piece of music, you're like best friends for life. Do you know what I mean? From the fan perspective.
Yeah.
And it's true, like, you love this band, I love this band. Now we're besties, and that's just how it goes.
Yeah, of course. It genuinely does connect people, and people complain and say, "Oh, it's too much of a cliche to say music doesn't change the world," but yes, it does. From this reason, how does the world change? It changes from connection, even from a one-to-one, and that gets passed around. It's like it's contagious. That thing, I think, in the same way that kindness is contagious, and peace can be. So I think music connects people, and and as a byproduct of that connection, it changes their environment, which ultimately influences other people around them. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
music now.
Yeah. Oh wait, we discovered a thing. Are you ready? Are we gonna do it? Is it gonna do it? It won't do it. Okay. Well, it gave me fireworks before, so it was very cool. If you're watching this on video, but so tell me about when you were really young. So when did you start playing music? When did you first start thinking like, I want to be a rock star? Let's just go with it like that, and who are some of your, when I listen to your music, obviously you can hear influences like the Beatles or like, like the Who and those classic rock giants, that psychedelic, magical time, which that's like the 60s, all that kind of stuff, that garage sound. That's my favorite ever. But so I'm curious, tell us about your roots, and like, did you have this aha moment that you knew this is what you wanted?
I don't. From since I can remember, I was always obsessed with music. I wasn't a kid that only got into music, so to speak, at a later day. Since I can remember, I was always obsessed with music. So much so, like, people had stories when I was really young, and I think it was a Blue Monday video, and seeing me as a baby, and I was watching it on the TV. Like, my aunt would always say that I was doing the whole motions to the song, so it must have just been inherently inside me, music, obsession with music. So then I must have been about, maybe when I really started getting into it, must have been about 14, 15. Well, before that, I'd be obsessed with the Beatles, and I'd always have tapes. And being in school, I'd always sort of sneak the headphone into my ears and lean on it and pretend I was listening in class, but I was listening to music. So I just listened to music all day, and I was like fascinated by it. And I was fascinated by all those 60s bands and all that rock element. It just talked to me in some way. And I think not just the music, the way that they were, their attitude of things. Coming out of the 60s, that was fascinating for me. All of that 60s music, and then the 70s music, and a little bit darker, and and I wanted to gorge myself on it, and then I started gorging on the things that influenced those bands, and a lot of blues music and Afro-American music in that sense, and I got obsessed with that. So and that journey's still not stopped, I suppose. So then I think I bought I mithered my mum to buy me a guitar down in Cardiff when my brother was at university down there, and we went visiting him, and there was a guitar shop, and so I got this acoustic, and then I just didn't stop playing it then. So all those influences that I'd been listening to prior, I would learn, and I'd know every song. I was just like one of those that picked songs up really quick after a couple of listens, and then I'd just be constantly trying to play them and working out how they did that. Like, then I'd go into it, I'd find a new artist, and then Bob Dylan would be like, I remember that fascination of really listening to Bob Dylan and being obsessed with Bob Dylan, and what blew my mind is like how someone could write a song like It's Alright Ma, I'm Only Bleeding. I remember vividly being on a plane going to Ireland, funny enough, and listening to that for the first time and thinking, what the fuck, who on earth can write that so profound in such a structure that is popular music, I suppose. And it was a bit more, it's more of like it's like you have those religious feelings. I can only assume when people in the olden times had those religious feelings walking into a church and being overwhelmed by the thought of God.
Yeah.
That music sort of does that to me in the sense that, it hits you somewhere and it moves you in a way that I wanted to go, I want to be able to create this, and even if I don't, I'm going to fucking die trying. And, from a young age, that has been ever with me ever since I first really started listening to music, whether that's the Beatles and the Stones and the Who and all that things, but then also like my brother's music, I'd steal CDs off him of like Ocean Colour Scene and The Verve and Oasis and like Black Sabbath, and so it would span. And I know like a lot of those bands are bands that made me as a white kid from the northwest of the UK believe that's something that I could do. It excited me to think that is possible, and it's still with me, I suppose. There's a need there somewhere. I don't know where it came from, but there's always been a need, because my mother and father weren't really that musical. They were into good music, so I think it was down to them that I got introduced to music. My dad would sing in like an Irish band, traditional Irish band, so I knew all the sort of trad Irish songs. I still know all the words. I still like to sing.
They're pretty great.
They're amazing. They just make you want to drink and be happy. I don't know any man that can listen to Irish music and not go, you know what, should we just have a pint?
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's been from all different people, I suppose. But yeah, no, that's me.
So did you ever do any formal training in music, or are you primarily just self-taught?
I had one lesson from a guitar teacher when I was younger, when I was really starting out, and I went. He was a nice guy, but I sat down with him, and then we were discussing what music we like, and I didn't bring up the Doors, but he brought up the Doors and said, I fucking hate the Doors. They're the worst band ever. And I had vehement hatred towards the Doors. And at the moment, I just got into the Doors and thought they were the best thing ever. And I was just like, I'm not coming back to you. No chance am I coming back to you. And that was the only lesson that I had. So then I taught myself, and I was just like, what an asshole. But you get so precious about things to me in music. I'm a bit less precious. Even now, if people go, I hate the Beatles, and I was like, it's
weird, but okay.
Yeah, all right, no problem. But yeah, at that time, I was very precious. I was like, how do you not like the Doors? So then, yeah, I ended up sitting and locking myself in a room for a couple of years and learning how to play guitar. And then the singing came after. I could. Like most people, I'd never sung before. I'd never sung in a choir or anything like that. I just taught myself to sing, that was the hardest, I think, because I couldn't really sing. I was the nervousness of wanting to sing, and then eventually I just got the confidence to just start belting it out. So there was no training there either. But I know a girl, a friend of mine who sings on Broadway. Very successful. She's in Wicked now on Broadway at the moment.
Oh wow!
And she kindly just visited us in our rehearsal room not that long ago, and just making some pointers on how I sing, because obviously I'm not sung from a training point of view, and that I brought her in just to sort of trying to keep my voice when I'm on tour, because we did the tour last year in 23 with Vintage Trouble and performed again with the Hurt, and it was quite intense, some of the touring, so I needed to make sure I keep hold of my voice. And she taught me some warm-up stuff, but she actually said I do a lot of things naturally that is correct, apparently. So
yeah, and I think
not everything.
No.
I don't know. It just I must have just picked it up of going, okay, that works and that doesn't.
Right, and probably even just like and just kind of feeling it, in your voice, in your body, how it feels with singing just overall. I mean, there's a lot of elements and there's a lot of things that you can do for training. Do you have any tips now to keep your voice when you're starting this next tour?
Sleep is the one, which is hard when you're on tour. So you're going to be sleeping anywhere possible. But if you can get a good night's sleep, it's always the best. Keeping your voice, just stay off the fags. Not too many fags. And if you're going to drink, there's certain drinks to have. Tequila's a good one. Not fucking 5 bottles of it. But then, it's cigarettes and alcohol. They're going to do you in. They're going to do you in a lot. And any other extracurricular stuff that's going to
swing
it a little bit.
Yeah, so we'll back off all that stuff. Nope. Nope, it's true.
Don't do that.
Oh my goodness. And so you do some other composing and writing for other people. Does that make up a lot of what you do? Do you want to tell us a little bit about all the writing that you do?
Yeah, so I've worked with theatre companies before, writing some music for some shows. Not Too Tame Theatre Company is the one I travelled with, composing some music for that for a number of the shows. Worked closely with them on a number of the shows. Travelled around the UK and a stint over in China. That was enjoyable.
Oh wow!
A couple of weeks over there in Hangzhou and Shanghai and basically, it comes from a different angle. I quite enjoy that, because writing for yourself or writing for a band, the palette and your palette is vast. So it's, where you're going to start, that can be a little bit overwhelming sometimes. But when you're writing and doing stuff for shows, they can be enjoyable, because there's a bit more, there's parameters involved. You know exactly what you're creating for, whether that's a scene or whether that's something that needs to tell a message. So it's a little easy. It's easier than just writing for yourself. Really, sometimes especially if you're writing for like an album. Like if writing for an album, you want it to sound exactly like this. It can be harder, because you don't want to sound pastiche, or you don't want to. You try your hardest not to emulate too much of your heroes and all that. When you're writing for shows like that, it can be enjoyable. It's a different strand,
Do you think it's helped you develop your songwriting overall? For your own works, or when it's.
I think so. Yeah, no, it's got to. I think it's like the exploration of finding something, always finding different ways. They say even the people that are virtuosos of guitar, you're still going to learn. You're still going to learn new things. There's still different ways of playing. There's still different approaches that the multitude of genres that you can write songs about, or I think it definitely helps because it helps you, come from a different angle and just not overthink things a little bit too much. No, I enjoy it. It's just like another element to music in general. I think it's good. I think all songwriters should do it.
But what about, you've done obviously like extensive traveling with your music and with everything else.
Yeah.
And so how has that influenced your songwriting?
I think from the people that you meet and the experiences that happen, that transpire by meeting new people or being in different places, different cultures. I think as any artist, you can only create once you've experienced life, and life is a very broad subject, isn't it, I suppose? So then from experience and getting yourselves, certainly at a younger age, getting yourselves in sticky situations and then living in the here and now. When you travel around like that, you have to live in the here and now, the here and now. You're not thinking about too much in the future, and you're certainly not thinking too much in the past. So only in those moments when you're living in the here and now do you experience life. You're not going to experience life living in the fucking past and being depressed, or living in the future and being anxious, as they say. So
do you think like a lot of people? Sorry. Do you think a lot of people really struggle with like living in the present and actually experiencing life? I know I'm guilty. I'm on my phone all the time. We're busy. We're working on things on the go. What about do you make sure to take that time to pause and just be present?
I think more than ever now, a considerable amount of people are feeling that anxiety and not living in the here and now. Yeah, I find myself doing that from time to time, especially because you're answering messages, emails, and all the social media and all those things that are involved in this one thing that we have. Overstimulates us, and then it makes you think of things in the past, and you're always thinking about things in the future. So whether that's someone having something that you don't have, or someone seeing someone on social media that has things in their life that looks like they're having an amazing time, when ultimately it's all bullshit, isn't it? So when you look deeper in it, but I think we're all addicted, so it does create that age of anxiety. We are living in that age of anxiety. So it's the travel and stuff like that. Certainly travel it's been an old adage thing of travel broadens the mind, and it still does, and it still always will, as far as I'm concerned. And for a musician to do that as well, it's a perfect fucking job, providing you can make a living out of it and keep the cost down. Then it is still the best job in the world, right?
Yeah.
As I see it, operating in that respect of being able to just travel and see new things and experience life in the here and now is more important than anything else. Living in the past.
How do you find balance in your everyday life and create boundaries between, okay, let's say even with like the crazy fans that you said were mobbing you and trying to pull your clothes and do you know what I mean? How do you create boundaries and balance professionally and personally?
Boundaries and balance. I don't know whether I don't really think about it that much. If I'm human, so if I'm not in the mood of talking to someone, you avoid talking to someone. Like naturally, but I'd never be rude, or I try my hardest not to be rude because it's not something that I am. But I suppose I always like speaking with people anyway, and it's always interesting to hear what people are saying. Doing this or putting yourself out there in the public, and whilst I'm not I'm not a huge star by any stretch. There's still people that will recognise you, and the majority of people will always want to be nice. There's always people that can be a little bit jealous, I suppose, and try and instigate you to say something negative back to them. I think only through experience of dealing with people that you can get the enjoyment out of it, and also see those people before they arrive. So the majority of people and the balance that I have with people like that, I enjoy. I enjoy speaking with people after shows, and
oh yeah,
it's just a shame
definitely.
Sometimes, I'm always overcritical of myself. That's the thing that is what I would say. But when I'm on the stage, I'm not really thinking about anything else. I'm not really thinking about the audience when I'm on the stage anyway. I'm only thinking about I'm just thinking about enjoying it. I suppose there's not really a gig that I can think of now that it's a long time in the past that I've really not enjoyed that. I suppose the only times that happens is when the sound is like it's too much and you can't quite get it, or some issues from a technical point of view that will just knock me off. But yeah, from a boundary point of view, I'm happy. I'm happy to speak to anyone that wants to speak to me.
Yeah, no. So you've got all of these influences, like you talked about. How did you really work to dig down and find your sound and find your people?
I think it was just more from jumping into writing songs and exploring that creative side, and didn't overthink it, and I don't really overthink it that much, really. It's what sounds good to you, I suppose. If something sounds good to me, I'll explore it. And what sounds good to me is my choices of what I deem as good or bad. It's probably based on influences and music that I've listened to and I've enjoyed. So I think it's like a culmination of all the music that is really at the root of what I've liked for a long time, whether that being 60s music, just guitar music in general, from all those bands that I mentioned before, but trying to push it in a way of just finding newer approaches of sounds. That's what I wanted to do with Standin, man, and pushing it for this album. There does sound like some of it is a little bit 60s and some of it is a little bit 90s in there. But I didn't overthink about that. I was just writing at the time, and then when we got into the studio where you sort of formulate the tonality of guitars and drums and vocals, then it pushed the boundary there a little bit more. But then working with like Jim Spencer, who'd work with like the Charlatans and stuff like that, I think he put an additional edge of 90s, shine on it as well. And
Yeah,
I think that was just really like his natural approach at producing, and my natural way of writing is based on what you like,
yeah, and I mean, I listened to it, and it does sound like a very good fit in the production, and obviously in your writing. So it's amazing. Yeah. Yes, the new band is Standin Man. How did it evolve to be that? So, because obviously we've talked about Sly Digs, so now it's like the new version of Sly Digs. Do you want to tell people the story of Standin?
I would certainly say it's different from Sly Digs. It was just a solo project that from the sort of hiatus that Sly Digs went on to knowing that I wanted to do something else. I wanted to carry on in some respects. So I think finishing the Sly Digs and opening up the Standin Man, I was running before I could walk, and I just wanted to keep myself busy, I suppose, at the beginning of it, because the end of sort of Sly Digs, it was a big thing to try and swallow, I suppose. and I just jumped in straight into to wanting to create something like an embryo of something where I'd look to release an album. I always wanted to do an album, like a body of work. A body of work tells a story, even if the industry now is not equipped for albums and stuff like that. I think it's always important to create a body of work because I think that tells the story of what you're going for better than anything else. So I know I was kicking against the grain really in some respects, but then the pandemic hit and I started writing and recording the album in and around lockdowns and stuff like that. And the members of the band, Pete was the other member of Sly Diggs. Joe is the guitarist who played in some cover bands. He looks very Jimmy Page anyway. And Paul Glover, who I'd worked with before, he'd sort of taught Ryan out the case to play the keys and Ben to play bass in Sly Diggs. So I'd known him for a long time, and he's great in how he views things. We're all very different. So we all bring something to the table. So then, when I was coming with new songs, we could explore different avenues than I hadn't done before. So it was good in that aspect, and it was working with new people, I suppose, that you get that. Nothing against anyone in Sly Diggs, so.
No, but it's just different energy that you all bring, right?
Different energies, yeah. And I didn't quite know. I think looking back on it in hindsight, I was just trying to keep myself as busy as possible, so I wasn't overthinking that. Now I'm a little bit more relaxed now and calmer because the end of Sly Diggs was a big thing. And who knows whether we do something with Sly Diggs in the future. I wouldn't mind. I'd do it if the scenario was correct. But as it stands now, I'm happy and wanting to keep exploring. So I'm happy to get this album out. We worked a long time, and it's been in the can for a long time. So wanting to get that out as soon as possible because it tells the story, and I think it's a really good album. I think it's a really strong album and some great songs on there, and it's an interesting album in the respect that there's not much quite out there that's anything like it, as far as I can see. There may be, but from what I hear, from my ear to the ground, there's not much that's out there, which is good. So if it's a great album and it's not sounding like anything out there, then it's a recipe for something good, I hope. But
I think so too.
People want to listen to it and buy tickets and come and see it. I enjoyed making it. The exploration of writing and recording it was great. I loved it. And each time you record or write something, I think you learn a little bit more about yourself. So.
Absolutely. There is something that there is magic that comes in creating in kind of any type of form, right? Whether it's writing or it's music or it's painting or sculpting, whatever. There is something that you always discover about yourself, which is amazing. So your new album is called Life Intimidating Art, which I keep thinking about the title and I'm like, okay, that is so cool. So do you want to tell us just about the title first, really quick? Where did that come from? Like the title. Because it's like, you hear life imitating art, but I love it. Life intimidating art. I love it.
Yeah, I think there's so many different meanings to it as well. And I always like that multi-meaning of a phrase or a sentence. Or a sentence. And it's a bit Leninism. It's like a little bit of a Leninism. Absolutely. Which I like. Which is someone that I've always been obsessed with. So life, I was just thinking about things one day, and I thought, oh, that's fucking quite good. It's like when you, was it? No, that was it. I think I was writing down ideas for titles, and an autocorrect made intimidating.
Oh,
thought, perfect. Love it.
Thank you, autocorrect, for once.
I'm glad you brought it up, though. There's only a few people that brought it up, and I think people don't read it properly. So, in this day and age, we're always and then you got Life, Intimidating Art. That's a fucking brilliant title. And I was like, yeah. There's not many album titles. It's hard to come up with album titles, and it's hard to come up with names or stuff like that. So, no, I'm happy about that. Thanks for bringing that up. Proud
autocorrect moment. No,
yeah,
but it's...
I think it was an autocorrect. It was an autocorrect. So, like the internet of me complaining about all this technology, it was technology that brought it to me.
But it is brilliant, and I agree. There's so many ways that you could take it. But I think, so when I was listening to the album, I think it fits all the songs just so beautifully. And when you're listening to this, the album has been released today, and you need to go out and hear it. You can stream it everywhere. You can purchase it online on digital copies and hard copies. We're going to link everything, so you need to go check it out. But it feels right listening to it. Yeah. It feels modern, but it feels 60s, and it's like it's 100% my vibe, and and so everybody should be excited about it, but when you listen to it, you'll see what I mean about the title of the album matching all the songs. I think.
Definitely.
So, with this album, you are going on tour all around the UK, like a week later, starting off on the 18th, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, pardon me.
Our first headline tour. Headline tour, which is good to come out with this debut album. Starting off in London, which is a different way of approaching it. Usually, most tours that I've done, we've always ended up in London. So it's good to start there in London on the 18th. A place that's got a bit of history, hasn't it? I think the Clash sort of started out around there in Open Anchor in Islington. And then we move on to Bristol, which Bristol I've always loved. I always have a good time in Bristol, which were exciting. And then I think that's on the 19th, Birmingham on the 20th, Manchester on the 26th of April, Leeds on the 27th, and Edinburgh on the 28th. So, it's a first sort of step doing our headline shows, and obviously we'd like to do as many places around the UK as possible, but we'll probably catch back up to the different places we're not playing on this tour on the next one. And then moving on to Europe and doing that stuff later on in the year. But no, I'm excited to get back out on the stage. It's been too long, been doing it. I think it's good that the fact that we're doing our first headline shows where we've got a bit longer of a set, so there's a bit more dynamic approach, and we can be a bit more creative from a stage performance, and be creative from a set point of view. So I've been working on that quite well. There's actually, I think we put like a new song in there as well. That's something that I wrote recently. We've not recorded it properly yet.
Oh,
so
cool!
We may play.
So that'll be one you don't want to miss then.
No, definitely. No. I from a stage point of view, I think obviously touring around UK and Europe last year with Vintage Trouble and playing with the Who there, that we really became a band. So I think after your first tour, you really become a band, and safe to say, we're firing on all cylinders for this tour, to be able to play like a good set rather than just 30 minutes and then you're off. This set again, it's a journey. We're taking people out on a journey, and we fucking love playing live. There's nothing better than actually playing live and being in front of people and exciting to see everyone and blow the fucking roof off.
Exactly, and I think people will really connect with you and with the music, and so it's huge setting out on this headline tour. I love it. I'm just really excited about the whole thing. So, with that, do you have any advice for artists just getting started?
Any advice?
Any tips? If you could give them one thing.
I would stick to your gut. Understand what your gut feel is. It's so easy for you to not to always second guess yourself or go against your gut feeling because you don't truly know what your gut feeling is. So take the time to understand what is meant by gut feeling, because it's your greatest ally. And if you think it's good, and you truly think it's good, and it's in your gut that thinks it's good, then it's irrelevant what really anyone else thinks at the time. So from a creative point of view, or most things, even in business, you have to do those things. Understand what your gut feel is, and let it be your ally, because it's the greatest ally there is. Yeah, I think that's okay.
I think it's great advice. Also very good advice. Well, Dean, where should people find you? Where is the best place for people to find you?
You can head over to, usually we can get us all on the social media pages of Instagram and Facebook, and I believe on TikTok as well, something I don't know, X. You'll find us on there, Standin Man without the G, usually, so you can search us. Our logo is the red logo with the Standin Man logo. But you can get us from our website. It's usually where you'll be able to get everything from the album download and any tickets for any up-and-coming tours, which is standinman.com. Check us out. Come and see us live. Prepare to be entertained.
And amazed. Thank you so much for being with us, Dean.
Thank you.
And we're looking forward to the album, the tour, and all of the good things that you keep coming out with. Really excited for you.
Thanks so much. Great to speak to you.
Thanks. See you soon. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for joining us today on the Healthy Metal Hippie podcast. If you're looking for more, head to healthymetalhippie.com and let's connect. Until next time, wishing you a magical week. See you later.